Hey everybody, how's it going, man? It's Jose Cruz, one of your hosts here at Still Here Podcast. And man, we have a special show for you today. But first, we got my man.
My name is Johnny Fisher.
Johnny
long-time
Fisher.
Listener, first-time caller. Really happy to be here.
First-time subscriber.
Yeah, first-time subscriber.
Hey, check in Johnny's OnlyFans. It's called Tickle the Fish. No.
The Johnny Fisher Fan Club hashtag. Yeah,
on OnlyFans.
Still Here Podcast, and we have our friend.
My name's Joshua Price.
There it is.
Price.
There
We
it
got
is.
Josh Price. So yeah, man, let's just jump straight into this. It got a little awkward. Johnny's OnlyFans comment right now.
Yeah, you really cut. You really know how to shut me up, don't you?
So yeah, let's get to know you, man. Tell us who you are, obviously, where you from, family, all that stuff, man. We'll just go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. It's pretty neat to watch what you guys been doing. So really excited to just kind of share and be a part of something and bringing conversation to people. But so yeah, I'm born and raised Clovis, California, out in the country back when it was country, out east of the hospital. Dirt roads, actually still dirt road today where it's at. And honestly, wish I still lived there. Went to Clovis High. Actually, and that's how I got connected to Johnny is his wonderful wife, Joni, and I graduated together, and just an amazing individual that she is and just a great spirit. And so we didn't really hang out or pal around together, but it was always big high fives and hugs and how you doing and huge smiles. And so I can't say enough about the wonderful woman and bride that Johnny has. So just
my director and producer.
Awesome. Right, they are.
Yeah, Johnny married up.
Yeah, I did. I freaking leveled up, kid.
Leveled up,
I think
man.
most of us could all
We all overshot our coverage. You kidding me?
There's like some deficiency with our wives and their eyesight and stuff, man. So all three of our wives are just like,
what's wrong with you? Why would you? Are you serious?
You really did that to yourself?
yeah.
Fun fact. Throw out the fun fact about you and Joni.
Oh,
and this isn't awkward.
Yeah, no, this is not where we.
I was like, wait,
we are
it's not us.
senior class most outgoing.
Yes.
of the school.
So, I may or may not have a photo of that.
We're the loud and yes, there's definitely a photo of your books and stuff. And
Oh man, take
loud,
that.
outspoken, outgoing, all that bit. So I used to use that on a resume, but nobody cares about this.
I would definitely look at that if I was like hiring somebody. Wow, most outgoing. All right.
I mean, we were a senior class of 800 people, so. You got to have a voice if you want to be, outspoken.
Joni's Italian, so she's loud. It's just like, why are you yelling? I'm not. I'm not yelling.
Johnny's like, dang it, Jose.
But after high school, moved around. Had the opportunity. Actually, I didn't have the opportunity. I had to get out of here, and got over to the Central Coast.
I saw that.
Thought about playing water polo. Actually went and talked to coaches, and they're like, "Well, dude, you're under 6 foot tall, and so you can practice and sit the bench, but you'll never play."
Rudy,
and I was,
Rudy.
You know, and I said, you know what? That's fine. I got yelled at for the last 4 years by my coach in high school, unfortunately, and so I'm done getting yelled at, and so I'm just gonna surf. So, being in the water for so much time in my life. Going out and surfing was relatively simple in the fact that I could paddle all day, enjoy sunsets, and I just committed to surfing basically every day without going to too much school, which was probably not in the greatest results. But I got to move around. From there, I had some buddies that wanted to do a trip, and we went to Costa Rica. Spent 3 months there, basically tent and hitchhiking and backpacking.
Awesome.
Dude, yeah, I'm looking at
took a
your
couple boards and
resume right here.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really a resume. I tell people, it's funny. People talk about retirement and stuff. I'm like, well, man, I took my retirement early, and they're like, what
Kind of like a Benjamin Button of retirement.
Age 18 to 30.
You reversed.
I basically lived on a
There's
pension.
a lot to be said about that, though. Nobody ever talks about like, oh, you have to work your ass off your whole freaking life, and then when you're old and gray and you can't move anymore because you've broken your back for company X, Y, and Z.
So
then you get to freaking stop.
Your body and everything else,
go in retirement when you're
that's
early,
I think
man.
That's the thing, the Benjamin Button retirement.
Right?
Yeah.
That actually should be a thing, man.
Call it the Josh Price retirement plan.
Josh Price retirement.
It makes complete sense to me. It really does. I mean, you go and you tent and hitchhike and you do all the things that a young person would do. I wouldn't do that now.
Imagine this.
I'm 47 years old. I'm not going to do that shit.
Changed so dramatically that you can't do that per se anymore. You know, I mean, this was in the mid 90s that we went down there, and Costa Rica was very much a third world country then. It was dirt roads. There was no electricity. There was no air conditioning. There was no coolers. I mean, it was, if you were out and doing it, like, you were far removed from anything that was like really Western civilized. And I mean, imagine this: 3 months of spending there, and did the entire Pacific coast from the Guanacaste region of Tamarindo all the way down to the Osa Peninsula, down by Panama, and then over to the Caribbean side, down in south of Limon, Porto. Golly, why am I forgetting it? Salsa Bravo is the name of the wave. It was phenomenal. But I did that whole 3 months on $1,100, $900.
That's awesome.
3 months, and living like a king. I mean,
well, $1,100 is actually, it's not a lot right now. You know, I would say
but mid 90s, like 96, 95.
Yeah. I mean, so it was, I think it's probably closer to 900, and then a couple of dollars for my airfare change stuff. But you know, you're talking a couple $100 a month to have 3 to 4 meals a day, 6 packs of beer, bottles of rum. You know,
the necessities,
that's paying for your room and board and your stay and everything else like that, you know? And so that was just a great experience. I'm glad I did that, and went straight from there in December to, came back for Christmas for 3 days and moved to Tahoe, and lived with a random group of people from all over, guys from the East Coast, a guy from Australia, a guy from Alaska, guys from Washington. We ended up having 13 people living in a
how was that
3-story house.
Cults are awesome,
Cults,
right?
Cults,
yeah,
we
man.
had this
Remember
big punch bowl, and we drank punch every day.
Yeah.
Some
They're
called
coming!
Kool-Aid, and I didn't know why. And
San Diego?
you know,
That's so
and,
funny, man.
But you know,
Dude, how was it living with 13
it was-
random dudes
well,
or strangers?
if everybody invites one person over, it's a kegger. You
Right.
know? Like
That's
it was
legit.
wild. But you know, we had it was an unfinished master suite up in the 3rd story of this house, and so we basically, there were like 5 of us living in that. I had the master bedroom closet.
Yeah,
Paid $130 a month.
that's awesome.
Really?
You literally live in a closet.
Living in a closet, you know. But you know, again, 20 years old, 21 years old. You know, riding as much as we could, just enjoying being youthful. And I think a lot of that's so removed from so many points of view for people. It's like, get out of high school, go straight into college, get your curriculum done, like get into your job, get into your career. And it's like, wait a second, who am I? And I think there's a challenge in that for a lot of folks that, you know, have these, and I'm not saying there's any right way to do this. So believe me, there's not one right way to do this, but it led me to figure out more who I am before I needed to mature and be prepared to have a wife and a kid and a mortgage and actually buckle down and say, okay, now here's my season in life, you know? So, you know, it took me bouncing around a few places, coming back to go to Fresno State, getting through school, enjoying school. Actually, that was a huge part, coming back and being like, all right, I already did a handful of years of going out and kind of experiencing world stuff. And all right, now I found a degree that I'm excited about. I want to go to class. I want to be a part of the conversation. I want to do the readings, you know, and I accelerated, and it was great. I really enjoyed my professors at the time. I enjoyed my classmates. I enjoyed what we were doing. And then it was a big event happened in my life, a major accident, wakeboarding injury, spiral fractured femur.
Really?
And a lot of people know the story. That's what led me to doing clothing with Nate and Pepe and Mondo and those guys. And
we'll get into that. I want to.
We'll get into that. Yeah, that was a fun time. That was actually a really neat time at Fresno State. But it also, I mean, I had the doctor come in and be like, "All right, you're never gonna do sports again." What are you talking about, man? I'm 23 years old and I'm doing contests and I'm riding dirt bikes and I'm, you know, traveling and putting in 60 days a year on the snow and 50 days of summer on the boat and, you know, and skating. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not going to do high impact sports again? Like, that's what I do. And he was just a raw doctor, like, and unfortunately he ended up botching the surgery and didn't follow the manual.
No way.
Right. He
What are all these extra parts for?
Oh yeah,
We
dude,
save
I
those
was
for the
like,
next guy that
We
comes
don't
in,
need
man.
this. What's this doing?
S5
So-
vertebrae 7, whatever.
The diagram clearly shows that bolt goes through that rod to keep the femur in place. So over the period of the next few months, my femur bone telescoped into itself.
Oh, wow.
And rotated my leg. So within a few months, my left leg was 2.5 inches shorter than my right leg and completely rotated out. So I walked with this crazy pimp limp that everybody called it. And like, this has nothing to do with wanting to be a pimp. This sucks. Went to every major doctor in town, asked them if they could help me. They all turned it down. Said, we can't touch you. Very dark moments, as a 23, 24-year-old aspiring athlete, want to do, awesome adventures and stuff. And
that's right when X Games is like really kicking, man. That's like the height of the beginning of like all of it, and
we were
just knowing you like and knowing like what you were doing is.
That was 1998.
Yeah, you're like on your way.
Went to nationals in Colorado and snowboarded and Telluride for the big event. And I didn't do good there, I rode against world-class athletes. A couple of them became Olympians, and I wasn't in that group. I mean, I rode against them. They were obviously a level higher than me. But it was just neat to be able to experience that and to go straight into no, you're not going to do this anymore. And it was I was driving down Bullard, right by the Fresno State Ag Fields, and my little single cab Toyota, and I thought, pin it into a pole, be done with this,
Yeah.
And a lot of those times are.
I mean, just hearing you say this now, you mentioning that, and that's been so long.
I don't talk about that part of the story.
Yeah.
I talk about the recovery and stuff like that.
I mean, I can hear it, and like I can see you went somewhere real quick.
Yeah, that was. I'll never forget that day. Basically, it was the last hope chance that said can't do anything, and that was a long drive home. And didn't stop searching, so we found a guy up in UC Davis Medical that said, "Hey, we're doing these new procedures. We call them external fixation, and we want to talk to you about this." And so I actually did a whole news video broadcast for medical people for it, or I guess they were using it as a story, and so they did an interview with me and what I was going through. And
real quick, can you put that mic a little bit towards you? Just keep it towards your chin area.
Gotcha, yeah.
We want to hear this, that's why. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. So basically they said, okay, you have two options. You can either go through bone grafting, which means they're going to go through and chip out parts of your hip and your pelvis for multiple times. Sorry, is that me? Yeah, sorry. Turn that off. My bad.
You're good.
You're going to have multiple times where you come in and we chip bone away, and then we pump it into the broken area of your femur and until it finally comes back. So they basically would extend it out and then pump bone back into it and let it grow in. And it would have been months long and multiple surgeries. Or we can do what we call an external fixator. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put these rods in your leg on the lower part and the upper part and put this fixator on the outside, and you're going to stretch it out over time.
Yeah.
And
I bet both of these things, I mean, knowing what surgery is and what nerve pain is and things like that, like, I bet that like, you're explaining this and I'm like, dude, none of that's going to feel good.
Yeah.
None of it's
None of that.
Well, I'll back up to the original surgeon, the botched guy,
Yeah.
and he actually has a name throughout our community of why he is who he is.
And he's still doing it?
I don't know. I've tried to exit that out of thinking. But he, I actually woke up on the operating table.
Oh.
And, they give you a spinal and everything.
Oh my God.
So they give you a spinal, they give you all that, right? And the anesthesiologist, and I remember waking up on the table and
I'm freaking out now.
hearing the metal on metal wax of the sledgehammer driving the rod into my femur. And though I couldn't feel it because I had a spinal, I knew that my body was hopping off the table. And I could just see. So they basically have you all tinted off. Right?
Johnny's going to his happy place right now.
Exactly. This one's not for
I'm looking at the stickers.
They have you kind of tinted off. So
That's
I'm sitting there
nice.
and I hear it. I remember hearing it 3 times. Whack, whack, whack. And the anesthesiologist looks down and sees my eyes open, and his eyes just got like so big, and I was out, but reoccurring nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
Like PTSD, like I have never been in combat. I definitely have not been in a career like yours, but there is definitely something to be said about PTSD when you go through an impact.
There are many forms of it.
Yeah.
Many forms of it.
So,
Right?
trauma isn't just related to like
Military,
like
first
yeah, it's not. Trauma is trauma.
Trauma is
Yeah.
trauma.
Trauma is trauma, and it doesn't give a shit, man.
Trauma has
It
so
does
many
not care.
faces, man.
Oh yeah.
And I like just seeing your face, you can tell like I'm talking about it, and we're doing a podcast, but how's your leg now? Are you like, are you even? Is
yeah, I mean, it's got its issues, but so moving forward to UC Davis Medical Center, and I go with my dad, right? Like my dad, and I'm breaking down everything to my dad, everything I've done, all my bad sides, and my dad understand, my dad, I'm so incredibly blessed by the friendship, the relationship, the mentorship. My dad is one of the most honoring men I've ever known, and it's an incredible blessing. Our relationship's really great. Well, there was obviously a big period of my life where I wanted to hide things from him. Like, I don't want you to know this about me. Well, I let it all go on those trips up and down.
That's cool.
To UC Davis, which was really good for our relationship. I think he really got a knowing of where I've been going, what I've been doing. And so, anyways, when I did the surgery, I woke up after the surgery, and I looked down, and there's 2 9-inch nails coming out right above my knee, and 2 9-inch nails coming out right up below my hip, and this big rod sticking out the side, and it's just all open wound and everything. And I just freaked out. I was like, get this out of me. I'm not doing this. We're done here. We're doing something different. Like, we're done. And my dad just like looking over me, just welling up, and like,
man,
this is our path. Like, this is what we're doing, And so there was a lot that went on with that. I mean, that was 4 months of having this thing I had to turn every single day and stretch out, and this ongoing huge rip in the side of my leg that I had to clean the gauze every day. And it was wintertime, and I slipped and fell on a rainy day, and my crutch went sliding sideways, and I landed on the concrete on that. Talk about a shock to the system, like laying out in front of Red Robin in the rain.
Oh my god.
Waiting for friends to pick me up off the ground, months in a wheelchair. But it got me focused at school because I couldn't do anything else. I was so I just got really focused in doing class, and a bunch of great people around Fresno State that helped me out, and friends that would give me rides and get me to class. And I mean, it brought me this whole new community of people that was just really, really neat, and having some good friends out of all that was really good. So that led me to the one-way ticket to Hawaii. It was like, okay, I sold my dirt bikes, I sold my snowboards, I sold my wakeboards, I sold, everything that they told me I couldn't do. And fortunately, I had a buddy that was an old roommate in Santa Cruz that had moved out there to go to UH. And he's like, hey, yeah, I got a room and I'm finishing up UH, so I'm going to be just kind of, surfing a lot more and working with a surfboard shaper. And like, wow, okay. So sold everything, bought a one-way ticket.
Yes.
And moved to Hawaii.
That's cool, dude.
I moved out there, I was 230 pounds. And within a year and a half, I was down to like 180, and swimming and diving and training in the summer, running rock and diving lava tunnels, and, building myself up to surf what were the best waves of my life. And that was a really neat experience to be able to do, because it was definitely bucket list from the time I was a kid, having, Hawaii surf posters on my wall and stuff. And actually got to meet a lot of really well-known people in the surf community, and shaking hands and giving shakas and head nods, and got to play a couple rounds of golf with a guy that I really looked up to as a charging surfer when I was like 19 and 20, and
Who's that?
His name's actually Sean Briley.
Okay.
Sean Briley. You ever see this dude? I really appreciate those days on the links, and hope your family's well. Just an animal, big bloke charger. He would go left at Waimea, which nobody does, and just a wildcat. But, out playing golf, we just had great conversations. He's not a really tall bloke, and he's a big dude. And watching that guy hit the ball, bro, was the most impressive thing. He'd drive plus 300 yards every time, both feet off the ground when he made contact with the ball, dude. It was,
Yes.
Wasn't that weird where they run up on it? Or
No.
what is that called? What do they call that?
The Happy Gilmore thing.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but he would just crush it, man. And he was just down to earth, and we had great conversations, you know. And dude, this is actually really neat. I actually got to skate with some really neat people. Actually, that got me back into skating out there, skating ramps and whatnot. Yeah, we call it dropping knowledge, right? Like I had a buddy in college, Cody Loftus.
Yes.
Incredible individual, true man of God, without a doubt, amazing disciple. But he used to talk about dropping knowledge, you know, and you just got to drop some knowledge. But I got to skate with the infamous Jay Adams.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
He was living a few hours down from me when he got out of prison in Hawaii, and watching that guy skate was, just a trip. I mean, he was one of the all-time
Mecca, dude.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
Without a doubt. And he dropped some knowledge for me on a few skate sessions that it was like, right on, you know, this is really good. So Hawaii had its true blessings. I've got good friends still there. They're amazing. And we go out and visit them, but also had its really dark road. Definitely got involved with heavy hitting on drugs, and it was a weird time. I had this one-sided group that was super undercover, low-key, good dudes, just wanted to be there and live and surf and live their life, and then I had the other side of the group that I somehow got coattailed into, like, the animal scene, you know, and I met some really heavy hitters, and got some lumps, and but ultimately got to clown around with them, and it was a mess. You know, it's a dark period of my life, and I'm so fortunate to have woken up at one point, and we can eventually talk about that another time. But ultimately, I think God interjected and gave me enough realization to look in the mirror and be like, all right, what am I choosing here? And then bought a one-way ticket back. Got a one-way ticket off that island. Moved back here. And then
everybody comes back to the Valley, man.
You know, it's well, I went to San Diego actually
people,
before coming back here. So I was in San Diego for a year, and I was like, it's okay. And then it's like, if I'm going to be back in California, I'm going to be back home around family, friends, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, everybody comes back.
So I was here, and then I was depressed, man. I kind of wanted to start out I just wanted to drop real quick. Like I'm becoming a stronger Christian, I believe, in my faith. We've been very dedicated to going to church and going to some men's groups, and I'm actually involved in it's called the AMP program, the Alpha Male program, and it's really about being a better husband, a better father, a better leader of the household, and it's been awesome. It's been really great.
How long have you been doing that?
It's a 9-month course through our church, and there's like 30 guys in it. We started in October, so we're partway into it, and everybody has to give their testimony. So right now we're working on our testimonies and being disciples, right? And so I just wanted to share that with. So, how
long have you been like a believer and all that too, or at least
that's a big part of a long period of life. Grew up going to church, having a family of believers, and going to youth group and going to church camp, and that's all a different part of my testimony. And then moving away and being surfer, skater, drugs and nature and spiritual, and always having a belief in God and Creator, but always questioning religion. And I think a lot of people go through that, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at religion, there's a lot of messed up stuff in religion. But I think being just a believer of something greater and having God and Lord Jesus Christ as our Savior, that's
the foundation. That is the foundation of it all right there. Boom.
Yeah.
That's the meat and potatoes of it. Is what I think, and you find a place that you're comfortable in. You find a place that you're comfortable going, and Jose and I have been burned once or twice, and so I'm a little jaded as it comes to like going to church. However, just recently, it's something that is definitely like weighing on me. Not to be a part of something, but to just be, I don't know. I don't want to be fed. I don't want to be fed. I'm not a child.
Right.
I know, you know what I mean? I'm responsible. I'm a responsible human being. And I believe it's up to me to figure out what I need to be fed with, and like my relationship with the big fella, you know, and he puts those things on your heart. He puts people in your path. Absolutely. And so with those things, you know, you should be studying with, I mean, you can do anything with the Bible now. You know, you want to look up depression. Okay. So you go to depression. Okay. Then it'll give you all these verses, you know, and stories about depression. If you want to talk about marriage and love and respect, or all these things, and it's all listed right there in this leather-bound book, you know, or on your phone or whatever, you know. So figuring out where you want to walk, how you want to walk, and where you want to be is huge. And that's fantastic that you guys have found a church home and a place to raise your beautiful family in the word of the big guy.
Well, my wife's been, I mean, she's definitely the rock and all that. And I was extremely depressed when I was back here after traveling and thinking I'd be gone forever. And, came back to the Valley, and I'm literally 27 years old, moving in with mom and dad, or 28, I was like 28 then, 28 or something. And like, wow, what a loser, you know, and where's my life going? Was so depressed. I remember on Christmas Day on the way to go into family friend's house for dinner, the big gathering, and I just pulled over on the side of the road and just started bawling. It was just like, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to show up. I wanted no part of it. And I just asked God, like, where's my direction? You know, where is my other half? You know, and I always thought that, you know, I'd be this young dad with like being this young environment, 20-year-old something, being Mr. Dad and like taking care of the family and going and doing all these things. And like I'm like getting ready to be 30 and I haven't met a girl yet, you know, and lo and behold, like 7 days later, she walks straight up to me, you know, and I mean 7 days. It was New Year's Eve. So from Christmas Day that I prayed that she walks into my life, you know, and that just really, it wasn't like perfect from the beginning. It's taken a lot of work, and now we're going on 15 years, you know, and 2 kids. And my wife's just been my salt, you know.
That's cool.
And
how old are you?
So I'm 46 now. It hurts. And the aches hurt.
I feel like Jose just turned 40, so he's like, like he wants everybody to know that like he's still the youngest.
No, man. I'm 40. I turned 40 in April, so I'm 40. So I'm be 41 soon. Yeah, you know, and
you're moving into your 40s.
Yeah, I'm moving in.
I'm getting to the end of mine.
Yeah, I'm moving into my 50s.
I'm in my later 40s now.
Well, I think so far hearing your what you've been talking about, man, it's an experience, you know, and I feel like out of all you said, man, one thing I got out, and then one thing I get out of it, you know, because me and Johnny have had our experiences. I don't know if he told you a little about what my story is, but, you know, growing up, I didn't have opportunities like that. It was just, I just did dumb stuff, man. But to hear your story right out the gate, just go, you know, I feel like that's kind of where I started rebuilding my relationship with God, man, is because he's so gracious, man. Even in our decisions, good or bad, he'll let us, you know, and that's where I feel like you mentioned, you know, religion. People have a lot of bad taste with religion and stuff. A friend of mine, really good friend of mine, said that the church is kind of like, you know, Dallas Cowboys team. You know, everyone, you know, likes the Cowboys, but a lot of people hate them because of their fans, you know, or, you know, and to me, Christians and churches, you know, a lot of people, you know, so they hate that religion because of the people. You know, and so, and in that, my experience with all that, you know, I think what you're talking about, my experience is that just, I feel like God, that's what makes God so gracious. That's what makes him so dope, man, because he's a gentleman, man. And these experiences we've had, whether we've put them on ourselves, you know, or it's happened to us, man, God's grace is still good, man. Mm-hmm. You know, and to hear your story, God was with you the whole time. You know, he was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like,
'Cause that's a lot.
God has definitely been with me throughout.
Josh is one of those people that we
could
could have like a segment, like just pick a pick a moment,
Pick
and
a
like
moment, we can pick
we
it
could just
apart
ride that wave.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to give you like, there's a lot of information in
Yeah.
a very condensed timeline here, and I'm thinking of all the things that I wanted to open with and say and state, and we're even close to that, but I enjoy doing this, right? Like, and so again, going back to my friend talking about dropping knowledge, was I felt like a lot of times when I talk to youth, especially in that late high school, early college era, like, well, what are your plans and what are you thinking of doing? And and it seems like there's so many kids lost. And I'm like, well, find out who you are, and go enjoy. Nobody says that you have to do it like this. And you got the rest of your life to work. And I had this battle with my cousin, who's just an amazing individual. I love her spirit so much. And she's a veterinarian and she's awesome. And, but so much is like, well, I have to get done with school. And as soon as I get done with school, I have to get working so that I can pay off my debts. And and I'm like, go travel. Like, you love skiing. You love it. Like, go do something. And she was just so adamant. And she's got a great life. She's got a wonderful family and amazing kids. And she's got a great clinic going. But she had this whole gap time of like, well, you kind of missed it because now you're dedicated to the mortgage and paying off their loans and your clinic. And it's going to be great. She's going to have a wonderful life. But there's that short period of, you don't have any responsibilities, man. Like, and I share that with kids. I'm like, look, man, you're going to get married. You're going to have kids. You're going to get a mortgage. Like, you're in, that next exit is a long drive, And so if there's a couple things like, oh, squirrel, like, that place looks fun. Like, I've always wanted to do that. Like, a great time to do that is in your 18 to 24 year period, because you are young, you're vibrant, you have resilience to you. Your body has resilience to you. You can adapt. You can interpret. You can, once you get into this new path of life. Not saying you can't be open-minded, but you kind of narrow those importance roles of, well, this is priority and this takes importance and this is what I'm restricted to. And it's been a tough balance for me. I really have told each one of my employers, hey, I want to let you know up front, I work to live. I don't live to work. And, because I've got buddies that have lived to work, and that's all they've committed to. And granted, they have great families and great homes, and,
they have the fruits of all that.
They have the fruits of all that. Their experience bag basically ended like in those early 20s, and fortunately I've been blessed with the ability to maintain some sense of adventure. And that's like my family's hashtag is Price Family Adventures. That's like, it's my wife tags it on everything.
How old are your kids?
So 10 and 6.
10 and 6. Do you see them now that they're, because at that age you start seeing personality, you start seeing what they're going to be.
I thank my parents every day for their patience with me. Like, that's keeping it real. That's awesome. Right. Yeah. Like, keeping it real is like watching your kids and be like, oh wow, I was like that.
Do you see that adventure spirit in them? And like,
I think they don't, even my parents will tell me like they have it, but not like you do. Like, when I was a kid, it was just go. Yeah. Where are we going next? Where are we going next? And my daughter's a lot like that. She's like, well, what are you doing this weekend? What are we doing? Like, are we going to see friends? Are we going to go to this activity? And my son is more like my wife in that specs. He's like, can't we just stay home? And I'm like, stay home. It's a beautiful sunny day and we have things to do and people to see and activities to go enjoy, So, whereas he's more daring like me, and my daughter is more reserved like her mom. So there's the balance of that, which is really neat to see.
That's cool.
But yeah, we've been fortunate and blessed, and we travel a lot. We went to Yellowstone this last summer. My kids have been to Yosemite. They go back east to Maine to spend time with their cousins. And every year, my kids get to go be on the north coast of Maine and get on lobster boats and play with their cousins and go row a boat to an island. And, they've been to Hawaii. And I'm not saying this as a, hey, I get to do all these things. Like, we work to make those things happen, and we do everything on a budget. Like, our toys are all old and used. Like,
you get
we buy third hand.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and they need repairs.
Hey, I have a funny story about that real quick. So when my kids were little, like, because we were young parents, and like much like Josh, like we did things on a budget of like nothing, right? And hella young parents, and we would take hand-me-downs like from our their cousins and just other friends. And finally one day one of my daughters, I think it was Caitlin, dude. I think it was Caitlin. She goes, "Hey mom, who's hand-me-down?" Like, cause we'd always say like, these are hand-me-downs. These are hand-me-downs. These are hand-me-downs. Mom, who's hand-me-down?
I need to know this person.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Caitlin, man. Thank you, hand-me-down.
That's hilarious.
Because these are hand-me-downs.
That's awesome.
Apostrophe S.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, now let's talk, because we were talking about this earlier too, and I want to kind of get into a different topic, man. Because when you said you got hurt, you were injured, wheelchair, and that tough times, and and I was sick. I got COVID pneumonia, man, double pneumonia, and then I got it. When I healed from it, supposedly a week and a half later, I got bacterial pneumonia, back to back. So after all that, and then Johnny Fisher's story with the backyard incident and like the wheelchair, like you said, with your leg, how important, man, is to really make the phone call, stay in contact with people. Because in my sickness, when my recovery, man, that was, because you hear it a lot. It's a cliche, life short, you see this crap all over social media until it hits you. Then it hits different, Then I realized there were people I needed to call, and people need, like you said, spend 5 minutes just talking, how's that important? Why is that so important to you now?
Well, and it's interesting that relationships are two-way, right? And what you're going to feed into that relationship is important because it's energy, and we all work on energy, and we exhaust energy. And what are you spending your energy on today? And I'm going to a really great healer right now. Delilah, you're just huge part in my life right now, and allowing me to heal in ways of conversation. And she's a massage therapist, but beyond anything that I've ever in 20 years of going through different massage therapies, like she's a healer. And we talk a lot, and she's like, well, what are you filling your cup with? Like you filling your cup with gratitude and thanks, and look at your beautiful family and the things that you do. And I've been draining my energy on the negativities of the world, and the negativities of relationships, and the negativities of work, and the negativities of, And she's like, you don't give yourself any recharge moments. And that's why I have to, and my wife is so understanding and amazing in the sense that she will just wake up in the morning and say, you need to go get on the boat today.
Yeah, I get that.
You need to go to the snow today. You should call somebody and go for a surf. Like, you need to refill your cup, and to have a wife that recognizes that, supports it, and promotes it, like, wow, God.
Yeah.
Nailed that, but that's how I would replenish so much. Well, when you have a family and you have a mortgage and you have a job, you don't get to do it as much as when you're young. So that I tell people all the time, I used to be the happiest, like, you're awesome, and I believe in you, and like, you can say and do anything, and I'm okay with it. And that energy level, because it was always full, because I was always on the mountains or on the beach or being around people that were doing that and wanting to do that and bringing that energy, and I had so much of it to give. Now I've got very little of that to give, and I'm finding myself become more of an asshole and more of a I used to make the joke, like, I'm not an asshole, I'm a jackass. There's a defining difference between that. Assholes are real assholes. Jackasses are just kind of I'm a jackass, and I'm moving away from a jackass into asshole.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but it's because I'm being depleted, right? Like, I'm letting my energy be just drained without refilling it. And
like being hangry.
Like,
being hangry,
Dude.
low blood sugar. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Low. What would you call that? Low. Instead of like low blood sugar, it's like low, like life moments, or like you're not filling
low
your
energy,
cup up. Low. We need to get that up. Like, I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. Like, there would be times where Joni's like, "Here's your skateboard, go." leave. I'll see you in a couple of hours.
I'll hit you with it.
Yeah, you're either going to get smacked with this thing or you're going to go.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So put a pin in this because I want to circle back to this because I want to talk about what he's talking about right there. So we hadn't seen each other and we didn't really talk very much. We don't hang out. We know we're good people. We know we get along and we chat. I was taking the kids out to go ride BMX bikes out at Woodward Park. And here's this dude just rolling this old school skateboard down the hills of Woodward Park. And I'm like,
smashing down.
I know that
That's
guy.
like my favorite thing to do is just bomb hills. Just smash down hills,
so we
man.
pulled up and started talking. I'm like, "What are you doing, Johnny?" I'm like, so I built a ramp in my backyard.
Oh,
so
nice.
I needed something to be able to do that's on site, like in my yard. I'm not going to leave to go to a skate park and be gone for 2 hours. I just need to be able to do this for a couple minutes.
Let's get a session.
I just have to deal with like other people's stuff. Anyways.
So I'm telling John, I'm like, dude, you love skateboarding. Like, I need you to come over and skate the ramp. And it took months again for that to happen. And he finally came over and it wasn't about skateboarding. It was about the conversation. And it's about refilling cups of energy and positive and real conversations and keeping it real with where we're at in our lives and with our families. And that was a really neat thing about building the ramp is I had so many buddies come over and lend a hand and just having real adult conversations. And probably the neatest thing about building the ramp is I've re-engaged with people I haven't seen in a long time and the conversations that we're having and realizing like we're praying together, you know, and we're talking about real life and we're talking about our faith and we're talking about, and man, it's so missed because I'm so done with, well, that weather, the weather. Are you like, it's the greatest facade conversation there is to talk about the weather. Or unless you're going to talk about
how's the Buick system. Hey man, how's the Buick running? Is the Buick running good? Right? You got to change that oil, man. Yeah.
You know, those surface conversations are dead, dude.
They are.
And,
I'm over that.
It's so exhausting to even. I'd rather go through the uncomfortable silence of I have nothing to talk about.
I could talk about that for like hours. Surface conversations. So like being able to go and I don't know. I don't even say rekindle, but like just start a relationship with somebody. Josh is one of the only people that came and saw me after my last surgery, you know? And we hung out for like an hour. I use his tree guy now. You know what I mean? And by the way, Cristobal, best tree guy in the valley.
Cristobal,
you should have called him
man, boy.
Time.
That guy, yeah, right?
Cristobal's a man.
How come everybody wants to give me their tree guy? You know?
Hey, Johnny, I know this
way
guy.
to go. That's like telling, I don't know. I don't even have
Yeah, well, you're good.
That's the metaphor. That is the metaphor.
That's kind of like full circle, man, because
Yep.
again, that's important to call and stay in contact with
Yep.
people and
It
make the phone call, make the text. And before I was the guy to not do that. If they don't call me, then I don't need them.
Yes.
You know, I was that guy. And like we're at that point again. There's so
Doesn't
many.
that take raw energy though?
It takes
to
a lot of
not
work.
call them like
Well-
that. You're almost giving off a negative energy by saying, "Well, I'm not going to call them until you call
Well,
me."
again, it takes a lot of work to feel that way because it drains you. You know, because I
Absolutely.
was like that, and then I'm at the point after all my sickness, and because I'm barely at that fine line of getting to recovery, like right now, and there was only a handful of people that I knew I needed to rekindle with. When I was in the hospital, those are the people I called. You know, I made sure I'm going to call. You know, because I did get all the phone calls. I mean, I looked over all my DMs, text messages, phone calls, you know, and there's 200, 300, 400 people just nonstop. And I didn't realize that many people liked me, you know. I was like, dang, you know, and I had to turn my phone off because my phone shut down. It was just like too much, you know. And then I realized, how come I'm not calling these people? And they all, every one of them, I would say 90% of them told me, man, dude, I should have stayed in contact with you. You know, and it took that. And it's too bad that it took that, you know. Like
it becomes too late.
Yeah, that's what I'm, yeah.
It becomes too late. We're moving to the period of our life where we're going to go to more funerals than we are to weddings, you know.
Yeah.
And it's sad and it's real. And I think that there's so much, pretty rare that you can go to a funeral and somebody would say, yep, I told them everything I wanted to do and I always followed up with them.
Yeah.
you know,
Because you always want that. Because you always want that one last moment. Sure. You always want to have that. Absolutely. I could have did this though. This one is 5 more minutes. Just like 2 more minutes. Give me 1 more minute. Give me 60 seconds. Give me just 30 seconds. Let me just have a hug or a kiss or a high five or something. You know,
remember that time. You know,
and I feel like that was because hearing your guys' story, like you said, you've seen Johnny skateboarding and your skateboard sessions at your house. People come in out building the ramp, and you just have good conversation. You're gonna remember that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and that keeps you in contact. That keeps you connected, you know. And so I think hearing what you're saying, man, and obviously what you said, it's just, to me, that's what matters, is that, like, we need somebody just to have a good chop up, keeping it real.
Yes.
You know,
and that's, I think, you know, what you guys are doing from the just checking in to now still here. I love that. When he was talking about, like, man, we lost, I was like, man, that was a really good name. Like, that's a tough one to lose, you know, and then the still here, I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
I know me and my wife,
that's right, we're still here.
Well, we were talking about it, and I'm like, the first part of it was like, we still here, you know, kind of, you know, it's like one of those jabs, you know, but I was like, you know what, just still here. Then I told me and my wife talked about it, and I text you about it, you know, it's still here.
Still here,
you know, and through all the good times and bad times. I mean, even it is a stance, because I've experienced a lot of, you know, haters, liars, people that, you know, want to hurt me or see me destroyed. I'm still here, you know, and I feel like that's what, man, that just, we were talking about in one of our last podcasts, and we're like, dude, and we didn't know we were saying it until and conversations outside with other people asking about it. We're talking with Ray, and he was like, yeah, you know, just doing this, still here. We're like, dang, that's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's awesome, man, because again, talking to you, your experience and what you've gone through and what you put yourself through, out of all that, God's grace and all that, man, we're still here.
We're still here, man. And it's God's path, right? Like, I mean, there's defining moments in my life where I just opened up and prayed and said, man, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still here. Direct me, lead me, you know? And it's, you know, just to bring back on with that, the men's group right now working on the testimonies, like you have your full length testimony, and mine's long because it has multiple stages. But there's also short testimonies, and there's guys in our group that were in prison. I've heard some raw stories this year that just, you look at this guy and you're like, no way was he that broken. And it gets raw and real. And at first when I started, I was like, well, what's my story? Like, I'm pretty easy compared to these guys. And I had very defining moments that made some big impacts. But the short testimony is simply, there was a time in my life where I was broken. I was depressed. I was angry. I was out of control. I was reckless, you know, and I found grace in God and asking for forgiveness and, you know, and bringing peace to my life. And now I have direction and I have a sense of purpose. And though it's not easy, you know, people think like, oh, this Christian life or what, and I'm not saying people think that, but I mean, there's an idea. Well, no, dude, like, being Christian life is knowing you're broken.
Yeah.
Like, knowing we live with sin. Like, I am a sinning man. I know that. Like, I think wanting to be a better Christian makes me realize every time I'm sinning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. And that's like the majority of the day.
Yeah.
Just put me in a car on Shaw Avenue. I'm like, dude,
same here.
I'm the greatest sinner in California.
I'm that guy, yeah.
But
I'm that guy, man.
But you know, it's just being.
But that's growth too, and that's part of it, and that's part of like our growth in the PTSD, depression, anxiety stuff that we go through, is that knowing that we not suffer from it, but we live with that. And not only do we live from it, but we thrive from it because we understand it and we can spit knowledge. We can come back and we can just keep things real with other people. And I mean, that's the biggest part of this. Somebody, I was on the phone today with John Maxwell team, the certification training that I was doing today. And she was talking about how she would do things that were self-serving. And I can totally relate to that because I used to do things that were self-serving. This isn't self-serving to me. It's not work to me, but it's not self-serving, because I feel like the things that we talk about and the stories that we tell and the knowledge that we bring to this table at Still Here podcast is that we're the opposite of self-serving. We're serving the listeners, the viewers, the guys and gals that are going to work right now that are looking at a 16-hour shift, or and they're looking for like a way out, or looking for like something to live for, or maybe they're broken, or just all these different things. I feel like we bring that to them so that it's the total opposite of self-service, man.
100%, because I think because I wake up and I think about this. I go to bed thinking about this. I really do, man. We hung out with some friends of ours this past week, and again, they're just catching up with me and seeing how I'm doing, how Laura's doing, with the recovery, because that was like the hardest thing for me, but for her,
nobody ever talks about that.
Yeah, so when we got to talking with them, they were just floored, So to catch up with them, and my buddy brought up the podcast, and he was like, "Dude, I'm glad you're doing that, because it really helps me."
That's awesome.
I get that a lot.
Awesome.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I get it from this guy.
Yeah.
That are
just
the first
the
one
short
that we,
ones,
man.
And I think it's awesome that you say this isn't self-fulfilling, and I think it's good. It's therapeutic, right? To have these conversations, to be in a room with people that share stories about real life. Something that really brought attention to me was years ago. My wife and I joined a small group from our church, and it was neat. It was people I've known. A guy from Fresno State that I got reconnected. His wife was a Clovis High. Another guy was Clovis High, and his wife. And it was neat, because it was like, okay, we weren't really friends in high school, but we know each other, and it's small town stuff. But at one point, we were in the small group for 2 years, and at one point, 3 of the 5 dads or husbands were all going through significant career changes and uncertainty, and it was like, oh wow, you don't have it all together. It isn't this pretty and perfect and everything's dialed. Like, wow, we're going through that together
behind the scenes, baby.
And it's very rare that you're gonna get that on a surface conversation. The weather conversation does not lead to
nothing.
Oh man, dude,
nothing.
I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Like, man, this sunny day is just, man, I'm depressed.
I think that's the surface conversation that people want to stay at.
Absolutely, because they're
it's
afraid
a protection,
to know the
protection,
real, man. They're
protection.
like so many people. Yes, it's part of the wall.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how many bricks can you pull away to see what's really behind that? And
to officially let it all fall.
And it took us a year in the small group before we even got that far. I mean, that's every week of meeting together and people you've known for 30 years to be able to break down some of that stuff. And, and dude, I've got my hangups. I've got crazy hangups, and I've got plenty of downsides. And there's a handful of people I'm willing to share that with.
Now you're sharing it with a couple more.
I know. Well, but again, it's dropping knowledge, and I'm not saying, hey, this is my path is not a roadmap for anybody else. It's what trials and tribulations I've come across, and the wrong exits I took, and the wrong roads, and finding my way back in the path. And a big part of that was, having faith in Christ, and having faith in where my road goes. Because there's plenty of times that I should not be alive. Multiple accounts where it can be like, oh yeah, that there was something there. Oh yeah, there was something there, and there was definitely something there. And again, spitting knowledge, dropping knowledge. I think that we have lost so much in relationship building that builds each other up through past experiences, because people have been afraid to do that. There was a time in life where there was a study in the home, and when there was a gathering, the men would go there and they would have real conversations, and then it led to now football and baseball and basketball and statistics,
distractions.
Significant distractions. And it's like, man, where's the conversation? How much information do you have in your head that's absolutely worthless, and you're not willing to break part of that out to reboot with something that can become a real good, strong conversation about future planning and taking care of kids and what vacation to go into and why. What I learned early on was that we will never experience everything that we want to in our lives. So to filter information from others of what their experience was, I use this a lot for travel. Like, tell me your experience. How are the people? How was the cost? How was the travel? Where would you stay? What beaches? What's, like download. So I could sift through that and be like, okay, I really want to go there, and or I can put that one aside, you know? So I was always trying to assess that information and recognizing that we're not going to experience everything. But if you put 100 people together, they all have these tremendous different experiences, and you can learn from that. And that's part of our cognitive dissonance of being able to filter out information and what we believe is still active in something that we want to pursue, and we collect and save that data, and we
versus the trash.
Yeah. And so I think that's what we've always wanted to be on this, with our last show we were on that got cut off, which blessing in disguise, man. We kept it real on that. And I remember bringing Johnny on, that was good. That was a good podcast. And I remember we bringing other people on, and they kept it. Like you said, my life story and everything that I've gone through is not the blueprint to get through life. It's my story. It's my experience. It's what happened to me, and this is how I responded, and my response now has shown a lot of people, okay, I can respond that way too. I can respond in a better way. I can respond this way. And because I'm real open about our marriage, from conversations we've had, my relationship with my family, her family, and just friends and people, and a lot of people that watch the show or listen to it, man, or saw the teasers on Instagram or social media, man, they're like, man, that's exactly where I'm at right now.
Yep.
And how you're talking about is exactly how I feel. Now you're helping, and Johnny would say something, Mondo would say something, other guests would say something. And this correlates to like life, business, family, personal, relationships. And, to me, I think the issue, and I'm going to always say this, who we are behind the cameras when everything's off is who we are on here. This is not a.
That's like our mission statement.
Yeah, this is not an act.
Yeah,
this isn't. This ain't a flip a switch, and because I want to live this way, man. I want to be open and honest, and I've had several conversations where people are like, "Dude, you're exactly the same."
We're better like that because we're better. Don't you feel better?
Platforms to be able to get that out. Like that's, I think, for a big part of people. I mean, I'm telling you again, this is therapeutic for me, right? Like I didn't go that deep into my injury in a long time, and
because it depletes your cup. It depletes your cup.
It is therapeutic, and I think there's something to be said about more people that want these type of platforms, or at least a comfort zone that they can share this, and there's very few places today's world that you can do that at. You can do it at a sports bar. You're going to get real with some friends at a sports bar. You're going to get real, unless you have a real,
I saw a couple guys crying the other day.
Hugging it
sports
out.
But they were hugging. They were like,
they're wearing cowboy jerseys.
Cowboy.
Crying, So, I hate the Cowboys, dude. I cannot stand the Cowboys.
I kind of got that.
Most of it,
I got that. Anyways, but yeah, you're right. You're not going to freaking do that. It's going to be like, hey, bro, what's up, man?
Man. I got buddies.
Which I like that too.
I would like to think that
high five.
There's some. Oh, they keep the high five alive,
bro.
Keep the high five.
Keep the high five alive. We had one homie years ago, and this is so prevalent now, dude. Is the fist bumping, like all the fist bumping, and he would just put his hand out and be like, "Stop the hate."
That's awesome.
So people go to fist bump, and you're like, "Stop the hate." Keep the high five alive.
Yes.
And the energy transformation. Think about that. Like when you go around fist bumping people all day long, that's like, right, stop the hate, right? Put it out there, stop the hate. Right? Stop
Jellyfish.
The hate. So, but the fist bump is aggressive, right?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
It's like people are like, boom, like,
yeah.
I feel that explosion. Like, I don't know if I felt that explosion. That's an explosion, dude. That's energy. That's power. That's freaking bringing positivity, right? So,
and just what a handshake means, and how it's a
or you do that one.
It's a symbol of peace.
Like this,
you get the bro hug.
You get that nice clap. It landed properly, and then you go for the one tap on the shoulder.
Big fan of the bro. I'm a big fan of the bro hug.
The bro hug's solid, dude.
Yeah,
the bro hug is solid.
I'm a big fan. Bro. I'm a big fan of like the long hip in.
Where the tips touch?
Yeah, a long hip in hug, You know, where it's like uncomfortable,
feel the
and like,
softness?
Sorry,
and
children,
you
this just
hold
got
you
weird.
hold your friend, you hold your buddy until like he's like trying to pull away, and you like bring him in closer. Yeah,
And
you
then
call
Johnny,
that-
when Johnny
that's-
pulls away, he's like,
Yeah.
"Hi," you know. You're like, Johnny, what the
you're like,
heck?
that was a good hug, boy.
How
That
about
was a
that
good hug.
weather?
Yeah, the weather.
Yeah.
So my car is
Yeah,
making this
so
weird
I
noise.
keep it real at the sports bar.
Yeah.
You know?
hugging his bro.
Hip in.
Hip in.
Give me that hip in hug,
my
kid.
Heck,
Wow. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Hip in, kind of hip in Johnny.
Woo!
You know, now, I mean,
Sometimes
now
from
with
behind.
everything that things,
Oh my
everything
God.
that's happened, I mean, even professionals are hip bumping or fist
Yeah.
bumping.
Hip bumping.
They hip bumping, kid. Yeah.
The fist
I bet LeBron
the
hip
fist bump
bumps.
and the,
LeBron
the
hip
elbow
bumps.
bump. Like, let me not get close to you without getting close to you. Like, how did you go from that to this is better?
Yeah.
Anyways,
I've
that's a
got
whole
that.
nother conversation. But going and seeing adults now that will fist bump you in introduction without shaking your hand, I'm really confused.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, I'm here to make an introduction.
Yeah, and I think
It's a
that's,
symbol of
that's
peace.
the world we live in, man. And, you know, I just think when it comes to stuff like that, I just try to be, honestly, man, I really try to be something better, you know. Not for to hype myself up, but just my world around me, man. I really do. You know, if there's one or a few people doing it, then we're on a good track, you know. I think what the real issue is that when nobody is trying to be that good, no one's trying to, you know, be that healthy life, that positive life living, then that's when we should be worried. You know, having this conversation with you makes me know, man, there's still hope. There's still hope in this world, especially here, you know, our world, the Central Valley.
Yeah.
You know, because when it comes to platforms like these, man, we are so saturated with podcasts and people doing it. And
Absolutely.
to stand out, you know, above them, man, so this won't be just another show or another thing to do, another trend. You know, to me, the conversation is, is to have that conversation beneath the surface. You know,
Yeah, it's the layers down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the ogre and the onion. Dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
They both smell, but we need to get through the layers. You
Yeah.
know? Like,
And so I think when you start peeling back those layers, because there was a lot of openness, you know, the show that I've had. That again.
He's a fan. This guy has fan club, man.
Oh, I
my
bet.
dad, dude.
Oh, hey, Dad.
My brother called me too. I get it.
So no, I think to have a show like this, to have something out here, you know, and to put it out there, because again, the compliments and the things we've always gotten was, dude, that's exactly where I'm at, or I know somebody that needs to hear this, so I send it to them.
That's awesome.
You know, and I feel like these conversations are they're real, man, because these are the ones I have. We have these conversations when no one's rolling.
Yep.
Right.
And we bring
As they should,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're natural
Yeah.
and they're real.
Just-
you
like when
know?
somebody asks me how I'm doing, and I don't know them well, I'm like, like I want to tell you because I want to be honest. I'm an honest person, you know. That, like,
I don't know
how much
you
time do you have?
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
am I paying you by the hour, or like how am I doing?
Yeah, you got a
you know,
couch
I'm
I
not.
can lay
you got,
on.
you got a
yeah.
notebook and a couch.
Yeah.
You're gonna take some notes on this one,
or
bro.
just get like a recorder because you're probably gonna want to hear
Yeah.
this later. But like,
I think that's why I like doing this, and I think one of the main things I love about just checking in with you when you do your one-on-one, man. You know, again, that's relatable, man. These conversations we have, you know, it was again this past Tuesday we were at a friend's house. This couple, man, and, you know, we've seen them a couple of times. They've come visit when I'm like because I wasn't moving, man. I was stuck to my couch. You know, had the oxygen tank on, and so it was a mission just to get up and go pee, you know, or just turn over. I would lose, my saturations would drop, so people would visit, you know. So to go be out and about, man, to talk to these guys, their whole conversation was just obviously trying to see how I'm doing, how she was doing, and it all came back to the real conversation of like, all right, how are you mentally? How are you doing? You know, were you there? You know, how are you doing, Laura, mentally and stuff? And that to me, because I feel like those are the real friends and companionships that I'm looking for now. You know, because they genuinely care.
How rare is it that somebody will ask you, "Hey, how are you doing mentally?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole "how you doing" or "how's it going today," and you know, it's funny. People are like, "Oh, living the dream, man, living the dream," and you know,
I'm over that.
Hey, here's me.
You know, and it's so this is me. This is my jackass side.
Yes.
Wow, man, you got a jacked up reality of what dream
Yeah.
or what living in paradise or whatever you want to
Yeah.
say. It's like, dude, you got a false sense of paradise, or you got to this is a grind. We're in the grind moments right now, and you have to go through the grind to enjoy the beautiful side, right? It's like, so I'll use this as an analogy when I had to teach my wife how to snowboard, which was a big deal. This was the make or the break if we were gonna make it, right?
Yeah.
And but she was a champ, and she listened to me, and she rips now, by the way. I mean, she didn't learn to snowboard till she was 27, and she's definitely one of the faster moms on a snowboard on the mountain, and it's great. But we would go on really crappy days, like bad snow, like heavy, wet, soaking, drenched, gray,
Sticky.
flat light, can't see snow. And she's like, this is awful. I hate this. Like, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, yeah, but doing it today and be able to conquer these conditions when you come back on that nice, sunny bluebird day, it's going to seem so much easier. You can see the snow's fast. It's light. You're dry. You're warm. Like, you're like, yeah, we're snowboarding today.
Yeah.
There's nothing to complain about, So you have to weather the storm to get the beautiful sunsets, right? You have to weather the storm of life to get the rewards of those beautiful trips with your family and those times spent, that you're disconnected from the grind of the world, and you actually get to live in the moment of your family and where you're at, and embracing it and God's beautiful land that he created for us to be outdoors and enjoy and breathe the fresh air and, roll in the leaves or hug a tree or,
I call it sitting in your shit. You have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to. And you have to so that you can learn to appreciate when you're not.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
It's really important. Absolutely. It really is.
Well, I think just listening to you now, man, I know I'll change the conversation, man, but obviously you're a believer, man. You call yourself a Christian, man, and Jesus is in your heart. He and I.
He's greater than I, dude.
Yeah.
That's strong. At first, when we first started seeing that, I'm like, okay. And that's a Hawaii brand, which is really cool. The reason I brought that, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
good. So I'm a big hat guy. I have lots of hats, and even though I have hair, I wear hats like all the time, and it's amazing I still have hair. But I don't choose my wardrobes very often. So I was thinking about it today, and what we were talking about, keeping it real. These two hats really play a big factor. This is Cayuga Surf Brand, great group of guys in arts and everything, but it's lost at sea. Dude, so many of us are lost at sea, and it's a big ocean, and it's a turbulent ocean, and it's got wind, and it's got waves, and it's got destruction. But once you're under the water, it's the most beautiful, pristine, full of life and energy and rejuvenation and health and wellness and everything of it. And so I wore this hat because we are all weathering some type of storm and we're lost at sea. But if we have He is greater than I, we're going to move through those storms.
Let's go.
We're going to move through those waters. We will no longer be lost at sea, for we have been found, right? And
Well, how do you, because again, I come from a bad experience, man. I used to be a youth pastor and all that. I'm not going to blame the church, because again, it's men, it's people.
People.
God uses men, and
faith
we're all
in men,
flawed.
right?
So how do you feel like your relationship with God, man? How can you reach those who have a genuine hate for Christianity?
Wow, that's so. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, when you say a genuine hate for Christianity, that's a very strong position. I do have friends that claim atheist and this, that, and the other. And I think a lot of that spawns from either an upbringing that they're like just disassociated with church and they just live that way, or had a bad experience and say, hey, I've chosen not to. I mean, people saying I'm agnostic, like, hey, I just really want to be a part of a church, but I'm still spiritual, and I still have, I believe there's something greater. I believe there's something bigger. And the cool thing about the ramp is it's real talk, and people bring that up. Like, the last 2 years have changed a lot of people's eyes on a lot of things going on in the world, and it's interesting. I've had some people that tell me their witness, I'm like, wow, I would have never guessed that, and others that are like, oh my gosh, that's totally shocking to me, right? Like that you're in this position. But so during the end times, more people are going to come to Christ, right? Like that's part of the story, is that during the end times, people are going to start recognizing, wow, the world is evil. Man is evil. I have to stop believing that man is going to save me, and I need to go somewhere I know it is. And my whole life, somewhere in time, somebody's got, and now we're in a movement of technology that once the entire world and every ear has heard the story of Christ, will he then come, right? Yeah. So more and more people are knowing that, especially in the West. I mean, in the West, and people might have had a bad experience or agnostic or removed from the church, but there's still this something in their heart. We're drawn closer to him every time we think about what our eternity is. And so for those that are like I'm trying to have conversations with those that are claiming they're atheist, and so the diehard, like, I hate Christianity, I don't even know how to enter into that, except for pray for them and love them. And that's what my wife said. She's like, look, you're not going to convert people, but that drip, the drip, you never know what seed is planted that they're going to have a conversation with somebody the following week that embraces that seed and helps it grow, right? And and there's just these drips all over that will create, and I want to be a part of that for somebody somewhere, whether it's in the early drips or it's the, hey, let's have a real conversation about this and grow this relationship and this friendship with Christ as well, and I'm a beginner Christian, right? I mean, I've known about it my whole life. This is the first time I feel the need to go and sit with a group of guys that are reading the Word and having a discussion about Scripture. And I've seen a lot of people in the last 2 years that actually started their own Bible studies. I had a group of buddies that I would have never guessed that they wanted to do. And they were like 5 of them. And they said that as a group, they were going to read the Bible front to back. Well, then they got somebody that has a little bit more background in the Bible studies and was able to cross-reference. And it kind of led to more. And it happened to be on a night that I just couldn't go. But I've watched these guys go through that. And it's like, wow, I'm seeing the impacts and change in what they talk about in the conversations. They keep it real. They have real conversations. And it's interesting because when you're around that group and around another group that isn't keeping it real, it goes back to the surface stuff. You see the separation in the conversations, and a couple of people pull off and we'll start.
But if I feel like I know several people that aren't believers, and I don't concern myself with that. Like, that's not my responsibility to, I don't know, like, it's my job to be their friend. It's my job to be close to them. And I feel like, let your light shine, man. And that's what it's all about, is it's what you bring to friendships. It's what you bring to relationships. It's what you bring, and they're going to see who you are by how you carry yourself, how you talk, how you interact with them, and I just feel like how we act, how I act is there's nothing different. If I were to turn myself inside out, I'd probably be better looking, but it would be the same thing.
You would.
Well, I think, and that's something that I need to do better. I need to emulate better, right, of who I want to become and who I want to be. And again, I struggle with that. In my youth, I would have said, like, I had a friend come to me years ago and say, dude, you're always in such a good mood. You're always so positive. And it was one of my most depressed times of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was
that's
like,
usually
wow,
when
what a facade I am, And so being able to speak more, I mean, so my family, both sides have had depression, and I've learned that from a young age, and both sides had sources of addiction, and I've watched it, and a lot of trauma in our lives for that. But it's something that I recognized young. I never talked about it. In the last plus decade, I'll tell people flat out, dude, I fight depression daily. Like, I have high anxiety and I'm depressed, and I couldn't tell you why. My wife sees it loud and clear, like when it's coming on, the onsets of it.
Yep.
And I go through depressive states that are like days and days and days, and nothing is going to make me happy. I can be angry as all get out on the lake, or on the snow. I'm just angry, and it takes a while, and it takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of, but that's an ongoing struggle. But trying to have more conversation on that, being aware of it, letting people know. I don't take pharmaceuticals. That's a whole nother conversation. Like, I am at very non-chemical based. Like, I did my experimental drugs and I flushed them from my system. And, there's something about tackling that head on in sobriety. And I drink whiskey, too much of it. I love IPAs.
There's no such thing as drinking too much whiskey. Oh, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to say that out loud.
But
Yeah.
you know, like
wrong?
and there's a reality of dealing with things head on, right? So I think in having conversation like this, keeping it real, we believe that there's people out there that are listening to, even if it's a 5-minute segment of this, it's speaking to you in some way that's like, oh my gosh, that's relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do, right? Is talk about
Yeah.
relatable subjects that can help us help each other and share that with others that are just need to hear it, that
100%.
others are struggling, you know?
One thing I've learned too, because to be relatable is really what we all strive for, especially on this show. You know, a good friend of mine, I worked with him at the news at Channel 26, and he's told me he experienced about he hated church, Christians, and all that. And I was like, I'm like, how do I relate to this guy? How do I change his mind? You know, and I didn't want to change his mind. I didn't want to change him. I just wanted to show him, you know. And so, was it a couple of years ago? Because I started a foundation. He's on his team. He's one of the board members. And I mean, even between that time, he was always ragging on Christians when the conversation came about. And so, I mean, I'd let him. I wouldn't say it's wrong. I just let him talk until 2 years later, we had a meeting here, and we came up with curriculum. We came up with stuff to talk about. And he was like, hey, man, we're doing a personal development section of our curriculum. And he picked a certain word and a certain phrase. And he said, I was reading the Bible the other day, and, you know, something showed me this, you know. So after 2 years of him talking about that, even before all that, hating church, Christians, God, all that, you know, he found his own way in it. And me and him were hanging out with each other 2-3 times a week.
Wow.
You know, and so, you know, that's a good testament of, just like you said, be a light. Just show it. Right. Call them. Stay in contact with people.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what, again, it's all going to come full circle, man, because, you know, when you have a good conversation, keeping it real, when you're out just drinking a beer, hanging out with buddies or friends, or just doing something like this, you know, people will find a way to, you know, to ask those questions. Because I've had conversations where people are hinting, like, you know, surface questions, but can you ask me the beneath the surface questions, because I don't want to put myself out there, you know, and I'm getting more intuitive and more discerning on those, man, because again, you know, people are hurting, man. People don't want to show they're hurting. They want you to
Absolutely.
They want you to dig in for them, you know. And so to me, that, you know, when you have that keen sense, you know, man, to me, I think that's where, you know, you're in the right path.
Yeah. When you make the decision to be vulnerable, then you become relatable.
100%.
And that's what we've done.
And a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable.
Yes, they are.
So they want you to dig in and help them.
That is
when you just go like this,
difficult
I quit.
Day and age for
you're not
anybody
quitting
because of the build up on social standards, right? Like, you have to look like this, dress like this, drive this, you know, be this front. And when did that happen? That happened in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't really the case with our parents. I mean, dude,
I'll say anything before 2005, right?
It's aspects of what you see in the parking lot of high schools now. Like, it's different. It's a different breed. Like, who's got what? Like, the keeping up with the Jones effect is insane.
Yeah.
And the front is just, it's exhausting, man.
It is.
Because when you come across a real family, a real couple, and you sit down and spend time with them, oh my gosh, dude, like, the energy that you draw from that, whether it's going out to dinner
authenticity
with a couple,
and
having a good conversation. And I had a buddy a year ago, like, we went out to dinner with 2 different couples that didn't know each other, and we didn't know one couple fairly, and the other couple were learning to know. And we're like, hey, let's the 6 of us go out to dinner. And after both couples responded with, wow, what a really enjoyable dinner out, getting to know new people. And my buddy called me and he's like, dude, I was telling my wife, I'm like, Josh isn't going to invite us to dinner with people that aren't real. You know,
that's a true story.
And it's, I have no desire to go have a fake dinner and spend that money. Like, I want, the food's okay. The service is fair.
Yeah.
I'm here for the camaraderie and the time and the conversation we're going to have, and watching my wife enjoy a new conversation with somebody, and having conversation with 2 buddies that I know would get along, you know? And it's like,
I don't want to go to a band and watch them lip sync. right?
That's so true.
You know?
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Unless it was like a lip sync battle
Yeah,
or
right.
something. But like, I'm not trying to like go
I mean,
see.
I'll go karaoke over
Yeah.
a lip sync contest, and then
It's always more fun.
Yeah.
Because you always sound better like with each drink you have. You're like, you go up an octave,
Yeah,
you know,
and
and
you
you're
go-
like, oh, dude, I sound so good.
And on the same
Confidence gets
token,
a little
bit.
the realness of your conversation comes out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and getting more comfortable around people.
Yeah.
But I think that if more youth today, and I really want to help and focus the youth, I really need to be involved. This is where my downside is, that I'm not committing my time to being helpful in other arenas, is that so many of the youth today is trapped in I got to have it now, and I got to have it bigger, and I got to have it shinier, and I got to have it, whether you use it or not. I'm like, most of my stuff looks beat up and used because it is. And it's like, okay, well, people are like, wow, you have a lot of toys. I'm like, yeah, but like, again, I try to buy things third hand, and I beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
I have them forever. And versus that brand new shining I used to talk about all the time with snowboarding. Like when I first started snowboarding, I was duct taping boots and duct taping bindings and writing old crappy beat up stuff. And dudes were showing up with brand new decked head to toe on everything new, you know, and I was like, oh, that's rad. And they're stuck on the bunny hill, and, you know, I'm trying to smash through trees and go 90. And
Dang,
but
that's crazy, man.
It's all good, you know.
That.
It's all good, and it's just that drive for, like, I want to go do this for the pureness of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like I love being up there. And I love ripping lines through the trees, and I love getting off the ground and drifting. And
You ever hit a tree?
oh, bro, we hit shit. Yeah, it hurts. Like,
You're all tree one, human none.
bro,
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're in a car, on a snowboard, skateboard, doesn't matter. You hit a tree.
China Peak holds most of my concussions, dude. I think China Peak.
I hate
has,
trees.
Like six.
Johnny hates trees.
Six of
Freaking
my
hate trees,
concussions.
bro.
Johnny's not a tree hugger.
No.
dude.
He's not a tree.
I
hugger.
used to love trees, man, and I get it.
Used to hug them,
I
hip
respect
in.
them.
Yes, from a distance now.
I just don't like them. It's
Yeah,
all
he
right.
used to hug him hip in, man. Remember?
Yeah,
So-
hip in hugs with trees.
Yeah,
boy. It's a little weird, but whatever.
That's
Maybe you
hilarious.
should start back with a distant high five now.
Yeah, or like the fist bump or something like that.
Nah, even that's a little too close. Like
Yeah.
there's this whole 6 foot for safety thing.
you're-
I use like about the 12 foot like diameter for safety with trees.
So you're anti.
Like humans are more safe to me than trees. Yes.
Yeah, well, there are some humans that probably try to kill you too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
However, not like this.
not like this.
like I look at like my whole life and I'm like, a tree,
A tree. I know.
a
That's
tree.
crazy.
All right, like okay.
You're come on,
Message received, sir.
man. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're dodging trees, snowboarding.
Yeah.
You know, I really want to continue with it. I know we're getting short on time.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
sure.
but
Oh.
you know, we usually end this show with our last words, last thoughts. You know. So what I'll do is so what you can say what you feel like you want to say. You know, maybe give PIP a shout out too. You know,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know.
that was-
And so just
We're
get
taking a photo to send to Nate and those guys.
Yeah, so give your last words, last thought over this conversation, man. Anything that anybody listening or watching, man, what would you want to tell them or let time or just speak to them, speak life into?
Well, one, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity. Super grateful for the conversation. Super grateful for the time. Looking forward to the growth in our friendship and the conversations that we have, because ever since that day running into you back again at Woodward Park and you come to my house and the phone calls that we've had, it's been nothing but real. And every single conversation is stronger in its realism. You know, this is a small community. As big as the valley is growing, that whole 6 degrees of separation doesn't exist here. It's 3 degrees of separation. Yeah. The fact in 2 minutes I look and see, and we put together names of, that was near 20 years ago for me, you know, of those guys. So very real with that, with the PIP group. Yeah. Late 90s, Fresno State.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just having a conversation with, you know, good meat and bones of reality, you know, and I feel very, my cup is filling right now. You know, this is not a depletion period. This is a filling period, and I want more of that. And I'm thirsty for more of that, and people that want to have real conversations and what's going on. Let's let's break it down. I mean, this is a wild world we live in with a lot of negativity, and it's being shoved down our throats for the evil in the music industry and the film industry and the elitist industry and all that, and the mega corporation stuff. And we're killing, small business, and we're killing the nuclear home, right? I mean, the war against the nuclear family is so real, and having a strong husband in the household and having an understanding and loving mother and wife and having kids that have some sense of fear and reality of their parents through, God helping us raise them to be God-fearing and good people. We are in a fight for this right now. And I truly believe that we are living in a time where we are seeing the spiritual warfare on good and evil, and I want to be on the right side of history with this, and that's why I want to be right with God and be able to share this. And this is amazing because I didn't really have that much thought and platform of talking about.
Hey Josh, what do you want to talk about?
Right?
Just keeping it real, bro.
So I guess this is me keeping it real now.
That's
that's a
awesome.
big part of my life.
I love that.
And I want to keep it going. I hope
like
to be
that.
back, and we can talk about
definitely.
how to expand this and go a couple different angles, because there's so much. There's so much to talk about. There's so much greatness to talk about. There's so much good that isn't being discussed. So let's keep it real with that.
100%. What about you, Fish?
Hearing one of my team leaders talk about like self-fulfillment, doing things just for self-fulfillment really kind of like resonated with me today. I was kind of in my feels a little bit about, losing my mom and just thinking about her a lot. And then Josh showed up with a Maine cup. I thought that was perfect. And, I'm just so grateful to be able to do this, to be able to, talk to you, talk to friends that get to come and sit down and or even strangers and just learn about them. And you never know who needs help. You never know. So like last night when my buddy called me, make sure that you're there. Make sure that you're there for your friends. Don't just talk about it, but do it. And having a loving wife that understands, like if somebody calls me and says, "Hey man, I'm hurting. I need to talk. Do you have a minute to talk?" I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm like, yes, I do. And having, Joni say, "Oh babe, who is that?" And I was like, it's Frank or Bill or Josh or
Gunther.
Whatever. Gunther. Yeah. And she's like, "Okay, all right. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. I'll just talk to him for a little bit." And you don't know what someone's going through until they become vulnerable and willing to share with you and trusting. And I'm honored that people would do that. I am.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm that person. I'm that person that will call you. You know that. I'm that person that will call you. I will call my dad, my brother. But like outside of family, like who are you calling? So make sure that you fill your cup, man, with knowledge. Fill it with people that are around you that actually add to your life, the benefits, the greatness of your life, and not in a self-serving way,
Right.
but in a healthy way that you can take that cup and then you can pour it into other friends and then fill it again and then pour it into more friends. And that's what we do here. That's what we do on Still Here.
That's so
Right.
We're still pouring cups, baby.
We're still pouring.
We're still pouring. We're still filling, and we're still pouring. And that's how I feel. My cup is full. My cup is full. Those are my last words. Is that I'm so happy to have Josh here, and my cup's full right now.
That's awesome, man. Again, thanks for coming on, man. I
man,
appreciate
I
it. Really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I think what I got out of this conversation, just going off what you said, man, and you said, hey, my cup was feeling empty, but now I'm leaving my cup full.
Yes.
And I feel like, because I'm getting back into my relationship with God, with Jesus. And, it sounds funny when those people that are ignorant to it, they don't like relationship with Jesus or God. It's like, because I did fill my cup with other things,
Sure.
a lot of other things, man. And it never just seemed like it hit the brim the way I wanted it until I got sick, until I was actually searching for the right person to fill, man. And to have my brothers in my life, my sisters, are people that called, stay connected. And, you know, in our hardest time, you know, I realized that I was filling my cup with the wrong thing. And I knew all this because I taught I was a pastor, you know, and because again, I think I've lost a lot of my memory with this sickness. You know, that's kind of one of the side effects. Just my brain just does not work like it used to. You know, I'm asking a question and I'll forget halfway through asking it, you know, and I'm starting to see that and like rewatching the show or just kind of critiquing myself, man. But one thing I know in the Bible says, you know, his cup runneth over, you know, and I think when we keep our cup full, you know, of Christ, just in our life, our personal life, man, you know, there's no need to refill, man. We're just because our cup is constantly running over with his love and with him and who he is, you know, and I think I'm starting to see more of that.
If we just drink from the well, we will always be thirsty.
What did Jesus say to the woman at the well?
Yep. If you drink from this well, you will always be thirst.
He says, but the water I offer is living water. Right. You know, and so I want to walk in that living, living. You know, when you can take that word living, you know, because people aren't living what they're saying. And this is where I'm always going to be on this show. What I say here is I'm living what I'm saying. That's why I have a huge issue with.
That's a rare find these days.
Because it took an experience in my life to see a lot of what people aren't living what they're saying. Right. You know, that's why I have a huge problem with a lot of people that just start a platform like this. I really do. You know, I'd rather live it. And I think my last word, and I get that vibe from you, you know, we get that from Johnny all the time, man. It's just we're living it, man. And I'm living this brand. I'm living my best life. You know, I got my wife, got my kids. That's all I need, man. And I need my brothers and sisters that are there for me, man. And my cup will always be full and run over for others. You know, and I think what we're doing now, man, is we're filling people's cups.
Yeah, we are. Especially on February 28th, 6th, right?
6th, son. Yeah.
Yep.
Launch party.
Yeah,
we're launching our party, dude. So we're excited. So
you'll be invited.
You're invited. So you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, man. If you guys got questions, if you guys got anything, just hit us up. You know, we're gonna put Johnny's phone number, bank account, social security number, his address, where he works, and time. You guys go stalk
I work here.
You guys go, okay, oh crap, never mind, I'll take that back. You know, but no, we're going to have all our information up, man. If you guys want to hit us up, talk to us, even, you know, spark a conversation.
Yeah.
Or if you disagree with us and you want to have a conversation, come through. You know?
It's a conversation.
It's huge.
You don't have to agree.
Yeah.
Just have a conversation. Exactly. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Just
be civil.
That's all we want to do is have a conversation with y'all that watch and listen. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for your love. Share the hell out of this, man, because again, this is good stuff. And with the world we live in that's so oversaturated, we need a lot of realness like this, keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
You know, so yeah, my name's Jose Cruz, one of the hosts here, Still Here podcast.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Peace.